Hey, welcome to Principles on the Come Up today, where our topic is going to be learning to challenge racial colorblindness. So, if you are somebody, or you are the principal, or the person over curriculum that's planning professional development, then this is going to be for you. You're planning it for this year, or you're planning it for the summer or beginning of the new school year. If you are planning the professional development, and I want you to consider doing professional development that focuses on racial colorblindness. And I want you to consider what would happen if you embarked upon this task. I just want you to consider that. So, first of all, if you don't know, I'm Dr. Barbara Polk. I'm an educational consultant and the administrator of Principles on the Come Up, where we have our free training on principal leadership every Monday at 5 p.m. I was designated by the Texas Education Agency to go into schools that did not meet standard and help to bring those schools up and above standard expectations. Was also accepted into the Harvard Graduate School of Education to be a part of their Urban School Institute, where we addressed the issues of students being not reaching level or being low performing. So today I'm going to tell you how you can impact the learning challenges that's associated with colorblindness. And there are three ways that we're going to talk about it. The first is you're going to have what's called communities of practice. The second thing that you're going to have to consider is to have an equity audit. And the third thing to consider is to have personal growth goals. So before we get started, there are some people who really, really need to hear this. So what I want you to do, I want you to hit that share button. I want you to hear that like button. I want you to hit that share button 3 times, because this is really, really important. In light of George Floyd, what happened this summer, in light of things that are going on right now as far as equity is concerned, the whole nation is concerned about equity and about racial colorblindness. So what we're going to look at, first of all, is if you are going to have some professional development, the first thing to do is to have what's called communities of practice. And communities of practice is not such a big thing. It's not such an overwhelming thing. It's a dialogue. The first thing you do is that you have to talk about it, and that talking can be done through listening and reading and understanding life experiences of people of color. That can happen on your campus. That doesn't have to be a big thing to do, just an environment that is conducive to listening. And the third thing that you can do is to examine the history of structural racism in the United States. So there are so many things that are in place in the United States that we just take for granted. And people of color sometimes are just labeled that these things are happening to them because of their character. And we know that is not true. So the first thing you can do on your campus is what's called communities of practice. That's number one. You're going to listen. You're going to listen to readings. You're going to understand life experiences of people of color. They can be children on your campus. They can be your custodians on your campus. They can be teachers on your campus. Just listen to them. And this experience can go both ways. It can go both ways with our people of color and our white colleagues. The next thing that you can do when you're considering colorblindness is to have an equity audit. Lots of things happen in our face, and we really don't even realize it. For example, there are three examples that I mentioned earlier, and that is the school bus aide saying things like, "I am just sick and tired of this Black Lives Matters. All lives matter." When you look at your community of practice, and when you listen and understand the experiences of people of color, then the person who said that will have a better understanding of what's happening with the people of color, where there has been inequity for the people of color, the children of color. The second thing example that I want to reiterate, and that is when you are in an environment where test scores come in or assessment scores come in, and you're in a environment that is predominantly children of color, and the test scores are low, and what is given as a reason is that the reason these test scores are low for our children of color is because they come here like that. What do you expect? They've always done that. So that means that that particular school or that environment has just accepted that that's a part of the character of those students. Hence, you have the colorblindness. And you have issue after issue like that. But let's go back to our equity audit. The equity audit is something that you can have, your district can have, and it can be done by a third party, or it can be done by you with a type of survey. And what you're going to be looking for are data gaps, gaps that document that our children of color are just not making it. You can also evaluate your policies. You can evaluate the policies of your district. You can evaluate the policies of your campus. You can evaluate the policies of programs that are on your campus. And then, of course, this is something that you do all the time, and that is the assessment of data by race. But, we do that all the time. But do we state specifically why the children that are of color, why their data is the way it is? And have we accepted that data as that's just how they are? Have we accepted that? That's colorblindness. Do you have your white teachers coming in and they're saying, well, it's just the scores are just low because that's a part of the children's character. That's a part of their upbringing. That's the colorblindness. That has to be addressed, and there has to be plans to eliminate that. Now, is that a big job to do? Absolutely right. It's a huge job to do. But will it ever get done if we never try to attack it? If we don't try to slice it up in little pieces to get people to understand what the racial colorblindness is? And let's look at the when we're doing our equity audit. Let's look at the achievement gaps. Let's look at the kids who are scoring the highest on the SAT test, on the ACT test, on the AP tests. Let's look at in high school, who is in the AP classes and what are we doing? What are we doing to make sure that our AP classes are not just one race of kids? Who is recognized when we have all types of functions at school? Look at the people who are recognized. Who is recognized? As people of color, we have been trained to accept things just as they are. We don't question anything. That's just the way it is. But I tell you, we are going to have to address the color blindness that we have in our schools and do something about it. So the third thing that we can do is to have personal growth goals. Personal growth goals. And this is information that has been developed through the research of Bernita Mayfield. And she is saying for our principals, for our team leaders, let's ask ourselves these questions. Can I recognize privilege in society? Can I recognize white privilege in society and in organizations? Sometimes we don't recognize it. Sometimes we don't see it. But that can be a personal goal for your growth, to recognize the challenge of the racial colorblindness. The second question you can ask is, do I understand how white privilege affects me? Do I understand that? Do I understand how that impacts our students, how that impacts their parents, how that impacts the community at large, how it impacts my city as I am teaching in the classroom? Do I understand how white privilege affects me? It can affect me positively and it can affect me negatively. If I am a white teacher, that is something that I've never even considered. You know, I just have the privilege. I show up, I have the privilege. But has that teacher ever thought about how that privilege is affecting others, how it's affecting them, where they have privilege that others do not have? That's a part of your colorblindness. That's a part of your personal growth goals. And the third thing is, can I recognize various kinds of racism? We're in an environment now where racism has been called out. We have companies, we have executives, we have people in power, we have our athletes who are ready to say, let's recognize the kind of racism that we have. Our country is going through changes that we've never seen before. And we are going to have to recognize the kinds of racism that we do have in the United States. So those are things for you to consider as you do as you prepare for your professional development, as you prepare for your PLCs, learning to challenge racial colorblindness. Is this going to be something that's difficult to do? You bet it is. Yeah. But we have to do something about it. We just cannot continue to just let things go as they are and say nothing about it, because ultimately we're talking to just let things go as they are. Students who need our help. We're talking about our Asian American students, our Pacific Islanders, our African American students, our Hispanic students. We have to be razor sharp to realize what is happening with those students, what is happening with the teaching, what is happening with the environment, what is happening with the culture on your campus. there's some things that people of color, they just accept. And we don't even realize that we're just accepting that because that's been a part of the culture. But we're at a point now where if we are in this business to help children, then we are going to have to dig a little deeper and look at the challenge of racial colorblindness. So once we take care of the racial colorblindness in our classrooms, then that will spill into the community. That will spill into our city and our nation. We have children who are not getting the kind of education that they should get because of colorblindness. We are going to have to dig deeper. So again, let me review. If you are going to do your professional development, whether you do it as an entire campus, as a district, if you are just going to do it within groups on your campus, the three things that are most important: communities of practice. You're going to listen to other people's stories, their experience of being people of color. You can examine the history of structural racism in the United States. We're going to look at data. We're going to look at equity data. Who are our children who are excelling? Who are our children that we're constantly recognizing? Who are our students who are doing poorly? What are our policies saying to our colorblindness? And the last thing is your personal growth goals. Do you recognize white privilege in society and in organization? I mean, it's been in place for so long until it's just the threads of and fiber of our life that has to be addressed. Do you understand how white privilege affects you and me? Do I understand? And then can I recognize the various kinds of racism? And, you may think that people have the answers to all those questions, and they really don't. And it's because we're not asking the right questions. So I want you to go to barbaraypogue.com, or you can go to your Facebook group, Principles on the Come Up, and there's a plus and an invite button. You can invite your colleagues so that they can learn these things, the things that you are learning about education, about leadership. And if you'd like, you can certainly go to Calendly.com, and let me see if I can do that for you. Okay, just hold on. There we go. And you can schedule a discovery call. I'm available for workshops, for professional development, because this is something that needs to be done. So we want to tell you, let's end this year. I mean, this month. This is the end of our first quarter, and this month we have been talking about professional development. And professional development is something that has to be done. It is an opportunity for us to grow ourselves, to grow our teachers, to grow our children, because this is what we need in order for our students, for our city, our state, and our nation to grow. So this is the end of our episode tonight on learning to challenge racial colorblindness. And we'll start with a new topic in April, and you'll see what that's going to be about as we prepare to close our school year down and look forward to the 21-22 school year. And hopefully we'll be able to see some things and do some things that we have learned that we've never done before. And it will all be because we, as principals on the come up, we're going to make sure that our children get everything they need. Okay, we'll see you next Monday, 5 p.m. Principles on the Come Up.